let's talk about Lance's readiness.
Okay.
So I'm seeing a lot of logical fallacies about Trey Lance and why Kyle Shanahan isn't at fault for this whole thing. People say, well, he just wasn't ready to be the passer the Niners needed him to be. So they had no choice but to use him in the way that he was ready, in the way that he could contribute right away as a runner. I disagree with that. He didn't look like someone who was ready to contribute as a ball carrier right away. It looked to me like actually he had a learning curve there too. I wouldn't say that he was necessarily a good runner. I mean, he didn't outrun linebackers to the edge. It seemed like, I'm not saying he couldn't. But if you talk about a learning curve passing, I think there's a learning curve running too, because he came from Division II. He played 1 year. He didn't run that much. And then he even said it. He said, look, it's a little bit different. For the first time in my life, I'm not bigger, stronger, faster than every defender I'm going against. And you saw it, like when he did run, he took brutal hits, multiple. He had no feel for how to take glancing blows, how to get down, how to protect himself. There was a learning curve there too. And to say like, oh, well, we don't really feel he can do like the whole passing game, so we're just going to run him between the tackles because that's what he does well. I disagree with that. Another thing. So the 2 runs, right? He got hurt. It's called counter bash. That's the play.
Yep.
Got hurt on counter bash. First time they ran it, he handed off to Debo, 51-yard gain. But it was the wrong read.
Mm-hmm.
It was the wrong read. He should have kept it. They run it again. He keeps it. But it's the wrong read. He should have handed it off to Ray McLeod. So I'm telling you, there was a learning curve there too. And it's disingenuous to say this is how we have to use him because he's not developed this way. He's not developed this way either. You know why he's not developed, Kyle? Because you didn't fucking play him. I'm sorry for cursing. You didn't fucking play him. And this whole idea that you could develop him on the bench, horse shit. You develop him by playing him. Get him on the field. Give him a drive. Give him a series. Give him a package of plays, a few runs, a few passes. That's how you develop him. He wasn't even ready to run the ball. He was ready for nothing because Kyle put him on the back burner. Put him in the back of the fridge. Put him on ice. That's the way I look at it.
I'll say this: the way that things looked, at least early on, our side of things where we said he should have played last year, I feel like every time that we watched him play, we were winning that argument. I really felt that way. Yeah. But I'll also say this: the thought that he couldn't throw and that he had to do that with him is so bogus. Because if you ask anybody, what was Trey's best game? The Texans. What was the game that he ran the least amount?
Houston.
The Texans. And I get it. Okay, small sample size. But I can say the other way around. Small sample size on the running thing. He didn't have to run. And I'll tell you this. It was very, very early in that game. Let's not forget that game 1 was a monsoon. And for anybody that doesn't think that affects the passers, you look at the 2 passers in this league, the 2 quarterbacks in this league that have the most off-target passes. Number 1, Justin Fields. Trey Lance, number 2. Those are the only 2 that played in a monsoon in week 1.
If you actually had to make a list, if you're being honest, a list of what Trey Lance does best, numbered like 1 through 5, running is not at the top of that list.
No.
He averages 4.2 yards per carry. That's not what he does best. What he does best is throw deep and outside the numbers off the 5 and 7-step drop game. What he does best is play action passing. What he doesn't do best is running and 3-step drop passing. What does Kyle have him do? Running and 3-step drop passing. What is that? What a genius, man. I'm not saying fire Kyle, but I am trying to hold him accountable and do my job as quality control, which is very important. Come on, man. Like, the numbers, there's evidence that you were featuring the 2 biggest weaknesses in his game at this point. Running, designed running. I think he's a hell of a scrambler. Designed running and 3-step drop passing. Come on. The 5-step and 7-step drop stuff was working. The play action stuff was working. The scrambling was working. Quarterback draw, working. You went to counter bash Hey, man, what a genius. That's dope. Really smart.
Well, I'll say this too. So again, a lot of the criticism was, he couldn't throw in the rain. Look at how inaccurate he was and whatever else. The moment that it rained slightly in that game, did we see how inaccurate Jimmy Garoppolo was? It was instant. And
That's
Jimmy
right.
Garoppolo may be smaller than Trey, but believe it or not, he has bigger hands.
Yeah.
So it is not easy to grip the football. And again, this is not a shot at Jimmy. This is look at Justin Fields, look at Trey Lance. They both played in a monsoon. Look at their completion percentage. Then let's also take the evidence of Jimmy. The moment it started raining is when he stopped looking accurate. That's not by coincidence. The rain causes a lot of that. So very early in this game, we saw 2 throws, and both of those throws are the throws that everybody has an issue with. He's not accurate, short, and intermediate. Well, guess what? He was on time, and he was accurate 2 for 3. The one that he missed was a throwaway because he was about to get sacked, and he was on time and accurate short to start that game. We saw it in the Texans game.
Yeah.
Then we had the monsoon game, which was not really a game. Then we had this game where he showed it again, and now he's gone. So I disagree that he couldn't throw the ball at all the way that people talk about it.
I just think it's so funny that like the reason Kyle Shanahan was using him like a running back is because he didn't feel that Trey was proficient enough in the short passing game. I'm going to curse one more time. Kyle, fuck the short passing game, okay? You brought in Trey because Jimmy couldn't get it down the field. You're trying to push the ball down the field. You can't push the ball down the fucking field. And here comes Trey. And you're like, before I even give you a chance to push the ball down the field, you got to throw a bunch of slants. Like, why? You want to push the ball down the field. Jimmy won't push the ball down the field. Trey's dying to. And you're like, before you do, you have to say 8 Hail Marys and complete 17 slants. Like, why? What is this? Why does he have to go over these hurdles before you let him do what he's here to do? You didn't trade 3 first-round picks for a running back. You didn't trade 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. There's a reason you didn't draft Mac Jones, right? Hold on. If you wanted 11-on-11 football, you should have taken Justin Fields. If you wanted slants and digs, you should have taken Mac Jones. If you legitimately wanted to push the ball down the field off of play action from under center, that's the guy you took. That's the guy you took, and you didn't use him that way. And when you tried to use him that way, he nailed it. 3 or 4 down the field in Chicago. I'm still mad. I have another topic on this.
Well, real quick, I have to say something just about that to end it real quick. So anybody can go back and find pre-draft analysis on what I said about Trey Lance. And one of the things that I consistently talked about is he is not as good of a runner as the stats will tell you. He's not a guy that's going to break out of the pocket and beat a tackle to the edge. When he runs, it's more up the middle and it's on his shoulders when he chooses to do so. Also, he's the type of guy that as he looks to run, he's approaching the line of scrimmage and he's still trying to throw the football. Yeah. He is a true passer first.
Yes.
All those stats are out the window once he reaches the NFL. He is not the guy that people want to make him out to be. He is a passer. That is what he wants to be. And that is also what Shanahan talked about him being, a passer first. Yet he ran him. And when we have, listen, when we have running backs on this team getting injured on a regular basis, and you've drafted 2 guys in round 3, 2 years in a row, one of those guys is off the team, one of those guys is already injured, and you're running your quarterback and your wide receiver more than all of them, that's a problem.
Okay. Also, he's going to get Debo hurt doing the same stuff. Yes. Can we just be honest? Stop doing that with Debo. It's week 2. Like, give him a chance to make it through the whole season.